You already knew the U.S. did well at the Olympics. You probably didn't know just how well. American Exceptionalism on display today on The 10th Man. Once every 4 years, we get a break from America bashers. Those are the people who like to find one teeny tiny insignificant fact that some other country does better than us and try to prove by it that America is awful. But along comes the Olympics, and every other country gets left in our dust. The big countries that cheat, the small countries investing millions, the medium-sized in-betweeners doing some of both, all of them fall before the land of the free with liberty and justice for all. As the biggest and best example of liberty on earth, including that very important liberty of capitalism, naturally we are going to run, swim, and vault better than anyone else. Let's just start out with a blockbuster, and that is the number of medals we have won. Of course, the U.S. has won more medals than anybody else. You saw that one coming. But do you know how many more? Here's blockbuster number one. The U.S. has not just won more medals, but is far ahead of any other country. The second and third place countries are not even close. The United States has won more medals than the second place Soviet Union and third place the UK put together. We are far ahead and may never be caught. Blockbuster number two is the gold medals. Of course, we've brought home more gold medals than anyone else, but not only that, the old Soviet Union was in second place with 1,010 medals. The U.S. is far ahead with 1,022 gold medals. Did you catch that? That's the USSR's total medals. The United States has more gold medals than the second place Soviet Union has all medals, gold, silver, and bronze combined. 1,022 gold versus 1,010. Isn't it amazing how bad the United States is on every news channel, on all social media, until you look at an area where they have to keep score and everyone can watch? Then America is always shown to be the best every time. No brag, just fact. Stay until the end for the biggest blockbuster of all. You're going to love it. I know you hate when people say that, but trust me, it's true. Because we do it all without cheating. The United Kingdom deserves to be in second place. The only reason the Soviet Union is there is because they cheated all the time. And the world let them cheat because, well, they're not Americans. Just look up the history of the great Soviet weightlifter Vasily Alexeyev. He was an amazing powerlifter who set 80 world records during his career and took the gold medal in the super heavyweight class at the Olympics in 1972 and 1976. But he was a professional athlete, and those medals were stolen medals. The Olympics then was only open to amateurs. Alexeyev was an amateur on paper, a mining engineer, but that was just a title assigned to him by the government, which paid him to train and to compete. The East Germans were famous for cheating too with their doping program. With the secret police in charge of security, medical experts timed the administration of drugs given to their athletes to avoid detection and made them a powerhouse, dominating women's swimming in the 1980s. It was their only choice. Communism always fails, so they had to cheat. The Americans, on the other hand, not only do not cheat, but actually skipped the Olympics in 1980 based on moral grounds. To protest the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979, America pulled out of the 1980 Moscow Olympics. That allowed the Eastern Bloc to close the medal gap slightly, but we're still in the lead. Then the Soviets and the Eastern Bloc boycotted the Los Angeles Olympics in 1984. Without the Soviets, the East Germans, and their allies, the end result was probably the most honest and fair Olympics in history. Let's talk about the events. Could it be we win so many events because they're playing our sports? Seriously, if you took out of the Olympics all the sports that originated in the United States, you wouldn't need 2 weeks to run them. First, there's volleyball and beach volleyball. Then there's baseball and softball. There's the triathlon With help from the Eskimos, we invented the sport of kayaking. Just as with the American Indians who created lacrosse, we codified it into a sport. We created the modern sport of surfing and that other American innovation, skateboarding. We didn't invent table tennis, but you can't play without a ping pong ball, and we invented that. Just like you can't surf without the modern surfboard, or cycle without a bicycle, and if it has a chain, pedals, and rubber tires, we invented that too. And then we invented the sport of BMX. And we'll wrap up the list with the great sport of basketball. Originating in the U.S. in 1891 and added to the Olympics in 1936. The men's basketball event at the Olympics was extraordinary because between 1936 and 1968, the Americans took gold every year. They never lost a single game. We'll never know how long they might have kept up that unprecedented and never repeated winning streak because the Russians finally defeated them in 1972 when they fielded their team of professionals. The Olympic Committee allowed it, the game went into overtime, and the Russians won in a controversial finish that's disputed to this day. Oh well, it's just a game. In happier endings, American swimmer Michael Phelps has more medals and more gold medals than any other athlete. And he set 7 world records in swimming at the 2008 Olympics, an amazing individual achievement. But America has 2 swimmers who took 7 gold medals and set 7 world records in a single Olympics, the other being Mark Spitz in 1976. No other country can say that. Moving to track and field, in shot put, we now have an extraordinary situation where the Americans have taken the top 2 places in the world, winning both gold and silver in the last 3 Olympics. The same 2 Americans took gold and silver in shot put in 2016, 2021, and 2024. Maybe you'd expect us to have multiple medal recipients, given the number of medals we have, but still, one of the rarest events is for a competitor to take gold in 4 Olympics in the exact same event. Just 7 people in history have ever done it. Most of those people are Americans. Not a plurality, not more Americans than anyone else. Most of them are Americans. 3 Americans, Carl Lewis in the long jump, Michael Phelps in the 200-meter individual medley, and Al Order in the discus, have just been joined by Vincent Hancock and Katie Ledecky. Hancock just earned his 4th gold medal for skeet shooting in Paris, while Ledecky has her 4th gold medal in the 800-meter freestyle. Americans were already 3 out of 5. Now they're 5 out of 7. So here it is. The biggest blockbuster of all is something people talk about all the time in America, but they're strangely silent right now. And that is diversity. It is an honor to be able to represent your country at the Olympics. And on America's team, the minority groups are overrepresented. The IOC even says we're doing a good job. You think that's true everywhere, in every country? Then someone should do the math because Russia has 190 ethnic groups, but all the people playing seem to be Russians. China has dozens of ethnic groups, but all the athletes are Han Chinese. And that's just the systemic racism. Don't get me started on the Islamic Republic of Iran, where certain religious groups are prohibited by law from participating. But here in America, where you are encouraged to complain that you didn't have any role models who looked like you, an individual like Simone Biles is allowed to go right to the top based entirely on her merit and be praised and admired by all Americans, not just the ones who are hyper-focused on pigmentation. Because if you focus on merit, the diversity comes automatically. America is so diverse that we're even providing athletes to the rest of the world. People like Naomi Osaka, who lit the Olympic flame for Japan in Tokyo in 2021, but lives in the U.S., or others like Eileen Gu, who skis for China in the Winter Olympics, and Armand Duplantis, another American who just set a pole vaulting record for Sweden. These athletes, and many others, play for teams outside the U.S. because they are getting more money there. Well, that's capitalism.